Oh, you didn't know that? You didn't realize that I one time was a medical man? That every day I'd walk into my office, throw my arms skyward, and scream, "These hands have been touched by God!" Yeah, of course, this is back in the days when they were nailing them left and right. And they called me up and said, Dr. Greaseman, our normal doctor here at the prison is out, and we have an execution. We need a doctor in attendance. Would you be? I said, I don't know. Said, all you got to do is pronounce him dead, for crying out loud. Pays $150. I said, 150, huh? I said, what the hell? All right. So I came by there, and next to kin with whimpering. I was looking at my watch, nervously smoking a Camel. Finally, they marched in the poor schlub. He didn't look particularly remorseful as they sat him down in the chair. Put the hood on him. Put the old thing on the top of his head. The warden nodded to the executioner, and all of a sudden, 2,000 volts. I stood there, riveted to my spot. I said, for crying out loud, how long does this go on? I said, we normally let it run for about 2 minutes. I said, 2 minutes? Crying out loud there. I wasn't so nauseated since medical school. Finally, 2 minutes later, the room's stinking. They turned off the juice. He slumped in the chair. They said, okay, Doc. I said, okay, what? They said, you can now pronounce him dead. I said, he's dead. What do you need? He's dead. 2,000 volts, 2 minutes, he's dead, believe me. Said, well, you got to go check him with the stethoscope. I said, stethoscope? I mean, jumping, Jiminy Cricket. They peeled off the hood and opened his shirt. It was all burned, and I said, They said, you're a doctor. I said, I'm not used to this. I mean, I'm a doctor, but a runny nose maybe grosses me out. Look at this guy, is fried and fricasseed. They said, Dr. Greaseman, the law specifies a doctor will pronounce him dead there. Now do your duty, or I'll have you arrested. Like I said, off I cried. It's a new stethoscope. I mean, geez, these things are expensive. So I got, I wish I had like a 10-foot cord on the stethoscope, so I could have somebody grab the end of it and run over to him and stick it on him, and then I would take the ear parts out and just let it dangle and say, keep it as a souvenir. But instead I had to lean forward to it. I mean, it was the worst experience of my whole life. Oh, man. Yeah, but I listened in the court. What am I going to hear, huh? I ain't going to hear no heartbeats after 2 minutes at 2,000 volts. Yeah. As I was walking out of there, one of the grizzled guards looked at me and shook his head and said, oh, my God, you call yourself a doctor? I said, you call yourself a humanitarian? Aren't you going to get his body out of here? He said, in a couple of minutes, it really keeps the room warm. It beats the hell out of a space heater.
You're rocking with the Greaseman.